Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is Ehsan Karami. He is one of Iran's most famous artists and TV hosts, and he joins us from Orange County in California. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You've decided not to go back to Iran, which has been rocked by an unprecedented wave of protests since the death of a 22-year-old woman by the name of Mahsa Amani. She died after she was arrested by the morality police in Tehran. Since then, the protests have continued despite a brutal crackdown. Ehsan Karami, let me ask you, we've seen protest movements before in Iran. There was the Green Movement in 2009. There were protests in 2019. Is this different, what we're seeing right now in Iran?
Undoubtedly, this time is different. It's not only different from Iran's past, but also in the whole world, because this time, all the people of Iran, from elites to the students, have participated in these protests. They supported and love each other. In addition, this is a progressive movement in the whole world. Just pay attention to its slogan that you can hear and see it: woman, life, freedom.
They're not only singing this, they're also singing death to the dictator. It seems to go beyond a protest against the mandatory hijab. It seems that some people on the streets are calling for regime change, isn't it?
Yes, that's true. You can see youth, you can see everybody in the streets, and they want change. They want basic change, and you can hear that. There were protests in more than 200 cities around the world, and they shout for freedom, for change.
Right. One obvious question, and it's a very difficult one, is what is going on inside the regime? We're seeing what's happening on the streets, in universities, in many cities across Iran, but it's very difficult for obvious reasons. Are there indications that there might be some cracks within the regime, some divisions, that some people think that actually change should happen?
I think you can clearly see this gap in the government, in the regime. Everyone has their own opinion. You don't hear a single sound from the regime. One talks about repression, another one talks about conversation. They seem extremely undecided, I think.
Right. As I said, you used to host TV shows on national television. You were going back and forth between the U.S. and Iran, but now you've decided not to go back. Can you explain to us why you took that decision, and what's the purpose of your staying in the U.S. right now?
Well, I announced 3 years ago, I think, that I will no longer work with national TV in Iran. After being banned from media for no reasons for many years, actually, I had no intention of leaving Iran. In all these days, I was going back and forth between Iran and America, and I was planning to return to Iran this winter and play in a theater. But after Mahsa Amani was killed, I decided to stay in America instead of being silent and returning to Iran. And due to the large audience that I have, I tried to be the voice of my people.
Right. You worked obviously with national media. You probably saw the hacking of a national TV during a speech by the supreme leader. I don't know if this tells you much about what's going on, but nevertheless, do you think that even within the national media that's tightly controlled by the regime, there is also some support for the protest movement, and that this was just one example of that?
Certainly. Most of the employees in Iran's national television are with the people. I'm sure about that. From the technical point of view, you cannot, and it is not impossible, it is not possible to hack the Iran's national television. And that work was done by one of the TV employees. And I was so happy to see it like everyone else in Iran. But I was not surprised. I was waiting for that. I was kind of waiting for that. And I am sure that this will be happen again and again.
Right. I mean, what is your message to those who continue to work on national TV or for the government? If you say there is a kind of, what you're implying is that there is a silent majority, but they're not really speaking out. I mean, should they remain silent because there's a brutal crackdown, or are you calling on them to speak their minds?
I have just one sentence. It is the time to decide. Being with the people or being with the power. It's time to decide. Do it.
Right. The regime obviously accuses foreign powers, the U.S., Israel, of being behind the protest movement. And I assume, given that you've decided to stay in America, they must see you as someone who's being used by foreign powers to destabilize Iran. What is your response to the general accusations and probably the, what's more pointed at you?
My answer is that the American government and the great powers government have been the kindest to the Iran regime. For the sake of money and oil, they have stepped on the blood of Iranian youth and the rights of their own citizens. And until today, they have done absolutely nothing for our people, except talking. In these more than 40 days, the world's major media have shown the least reaction to the protests of the Iranian people inside the country. And as I said, in about 200 cities in the whole world. Not only we are not supported, but we are very lonely. And I will use this opportunity that you have given me, and I tell the people of Europe and America that the people of Iran need your support. Please convey our voice to your government. We have nothing. We are fighting for freedom, women, children, and our future with empty hands against police, against armed civils for more than 40 days. The government tried to shut down our voice, to shut down our internet, and this is very, very horrible for us. Iranian people have access to the internet with great difficulty. We are not aware of a large number of our youth, like Armita Abbasi. It's rumored that she was severely tortured and even raped. Do the people of the world want to stand by the humanity or stand by power and politicians? Didn't you hear us in your cities? Didn't you see us in your cities? Please be our voice.
Just as a last question, obviously we started this interview by reminding the viewers of the previous waves of protests, 2019, especially 2009, and we know how it ended. There was a crackdown, brutal, and the regime stayed. Do you think that there is a possibility of regime collapse, or do you fear that the regime will become even more hardline, really end this in blood, and take all the decisions to remain in power at any cost?
Well, what I know is that the regime of the Islamic Republic of Iran does not have the ability to sit back and listen to requests of people. I believe that we will soon witness a great change in Iran. That time may be an hour later, or a year later from now on. But I am sure people of Iran will not return to the past.
Ehsan Karami, I want to thank you very much for appearing here on the France 24 interview, and I want to thank you all for watching this edition. Stay tuned for more news.